Hello, everyone, and welcome to another episode of Bound to Talk Football. I'm your host, Blake Walker. Paul Erridge along with me. Another late night pod, aka it's Monday morning when Paul and I are recording this, and you'll see it on Monday morning. So we have our fresh thoughts coming out of the week 5. Already at week 5, Paul. That feels very odd. I'm still not saying halfway yet because we got playoffs and whatnot. Did you catch any games? What did you do Friday? Did you watch a ton of games Friday?
I didn't watch too many, just the CISN lineup. I did catch some Milwaukee Johnson game.
Our CISN lineup was rough. The average score of our finals had to be at least 38, 40 points.
Yeah.
I was at Waukee Northwest calling their game against Waterloo West. I literally brought up a stat about Waterloo West not ever beating a Metro team and hadn't beaten a CIML team. And then in the tweet, I said that because of their running attack, I thought they had a decent chance. I didn't say they were going to win. I didn't say they were going to blow them out. And Waukee Northwest just takes them to school. 64-0. And then I get messages on Instagram and Twitter from Waukee Northwest players afterwards. I'm like, hey, buddy. I was like, what do you want me to say? I mean, I'm just bringing up stats. I didn't say you were going to lose, but I thought that was funny. Good game. Waukee Northwest, man. I tell you what, we're not talking about them in 5A, but they are they're a solid team. I was very impressed. Good improvement by Sam Johnson and them. Obviously, their opponent was a little down size-wise. I will say, Waterloo West, I can't think of his name off the top of my head. They have a left tackle who is 6'7", 270 pounds, and he's only a sophomore. So keep an eye on that kid. Like, I don't know. He might play basketball. He might not, but keep an eye on that kid. Anyway, good week 5, rainy week 5. A lot of games were delayed because of storms. It rained randomly while we were packing up at Waukee. Just kind of a weird night, I'll say. So could have caused a couple issues for a couple teams. Also want to thank everyone for watching the latest episode. We didn't get a Friday preview episode out because Paul and I's schedules just didn't work out. We kind of got behind on a couple things. But our latest episode, our Dome predictions video, which if you already look at it, has already got some bad takes. I'm looking at you, Osage. My Osage pick is already looking very bad. Already 1,000 views already on that YouTube video. I don't know if we just hit the what do you call it, the YouTube algorithm or not, but we appreciate everyone for listening and watching and subscribing. A lot of great stuff. We will try our hardest to get this thing back on Spotify. We just had too much on our system that we're going to have to upgrade our platform that we use so that way we can churn out more videos or get the content out with having to delete old videos. So yes, we will try to get it back on Spotify as much as we can because we know people like to just listen to it on the road and don't like seeing our faces. So that's completely okay. So that's all I got for our quick intro. Let's jump into Class 5A. Cedar Rapids Kennedy, Paul, your boys are looking good. They defeat Iowa City High 64-31. No stats as of when I put in this.
I got some.
Okay, you got stats. Tell me about this offensive explosion by Cedar Rapids Kennedy.
Yeah, I mean, 356 rushing yards on the ground, so that's kind of the padlock stat. There's 6 yards per carry. Impressed for showing their defense also. 2 interceptions returned for TDs.
Wow.
So the defense is getting it done as well. 28-point third quarter for the Cougars as well.
I kept checking in. I don't think they were running up the score. I think it was just their offense was that good. If they can do that on the ground, then I'd say they're in a pretty good spot because we expect them to be a passing type team. But you were so right. You know, yes, we could have panicked about Kennedy to start the season. 2 losses isn't great, but they're in a really good spot. I think they got their legs underneath them. That's a big win for Kennedy. 64 points in Class 5A. I don't care who you're playing. Sometimes, yeah, it's like that's tough, but that's an Iowa City team that doesn't get pushed around very often. That's a good team. I think Bacon had 300 yards passing.
Robbie Bacon still played good,
Yeah.
321 yards, 3 touchdowns, and pretty good completion numbers. But, 2 pick sixes, it looks like. So
yeah, so they'll get there, but Kennedy very dangerous, as we expected, getting back on it. Speaking of very dangerous teams, Paul, your boys, your alumni. Ankeny defeats Iowa City West 48-21. Luke Anderson, 17 of 22, 268 yards, 3 touchdowns. This is what I'm talking about. This Ankeny team is good. I mean, yes, they've struggled here to start the year, but they're going to start getting their feet underneath of them. This is a dangerous Ankeny team.
Yeah, they're scary, man. In the playoffs, if they get sent out east, it's bad news.
We've talked about it all season. They just might remind you of Valley last year.
Yeah.
I mean, their record might not look great going into the playoffs, but that might help them when it decides who they get to play. This Ankeny team could very easily get to the Dome and could play sleeper after the last couple of years of playing, the top dog. Might suit them better. You never know. But Devin Akers is still a weapon.
Yeah, and Daniel Arme as well. Offense is going to be good.
It's starting to all come together for Ankeny. That's a big win over Iowa City West. Probably the biggest, it wasn't really a stunner, but it was the biggest game that happened. Waukee survives Johnston 14-10. I use the word survives lightly because this was a phenomenal game all throughout. It was 10-7 most of the game.
Yeah.
And basically how it worked out, from my understanding, I can't remember how much time was left, but Will Nuss was trying to run the ball, pretty much keep the ball on the ground, just walk out of there with a win. You get a big win over a Waukee team, and you're like, all right, we're back on the step. We're getting going. And Will Nuss fumbles, and it's picked up by Cole Tedesco, and he goes 53 yards to the house and wins the ball game for Waukee, 14-10. If you haven't seen the play-by-play video of the Johnston stream, go with caution. There's a few explicatives said by the broadcasters on that stream, but Paul, Johnston was so close to having their big signature win, and now you're sitting at 2-3.
Yep, brutal loss for them. Always a defensive show up between these two teams. I feel like last year it was 10-0, I think. But yeah, brutal way to lost. It's like literally one of the worst ways you could lose.
You just can't turn the ball over. I mean, and that's a given, but it seems like Johnston's had that problem just constantly here the first couple weeks. Now 2-3, they can still make the playoffs. They feel like one of those teams that could go 4-5 and make the playoffs. They probably will go. I mean, looking at it, maybe 5-4, something like that. But it's troubling. Should we be worried about Waukee any, or is this just a good Johnston? This is a good Johnston defense. I think we should say that. But Baker didn't have a great game. Grant Gamble ran for 100. He's always going to get you 100. But yeah, you think any worries on Waukee?
Nope. They're going to finish the year at 8-1.
There you go. Tough team. Fun to watch. Muscatine defeats Davenport West 35-21, our Class 5A game of the week. The boy, Ty Kozad, is back. 32 carries, 234 yards, 5 touchdowns. Paul, I don't want to be that guy, but Muscatine could be another sneaky, just pesky team with Kozad back. Last year, I know they had Kozad most of the way. They weren't great, but just seems different. And Davenport West is a good team. That's not an easy win that they pulled off on Friday night.
Yeah. It's going to be really interesting to see how Muscatine does. They got Limar next week, and that last year was a bloodbath. Limar dominated, but we know Limar's a little weaker than they were last year. So at this point, they were going to be pretty good if Ross Campos stayed healthy. But yeah, they've got an interesting remaining schedule where playoff push. Got 2 wins there that look pretty doable for them.
Sets them up,
and Dubuque Senior.
Yeah, sets them up well. I mean, that's the good part going forward. So I give credit to them. Good for them. Excited to see how they go the rest of the way, but that's a good win. Good for Ty. Glad to have him back. Much needed for the state of Iowa in terms of that. I didn't throw it on here, but I guess I'll just talk about it here quickly. Cedar Rapids, Washington. Winless Cedar Rapids, Washington hosts Cedar Rapids Jefferson and takes down the Jayhawks, who are unbeaten at the time. A 21-13 win for Cedar Rapids, Washington. Just kind of took control early. Jefferson really couldn't keep up. That's a big win. I mean, winless to beating an undefeated team. And I know you can say everything you want about Cedar Rapids Jefferson. This really hurts their playoff chances. Their schedule is not very good as it is. But nonetheless, I'm not even going to put it past them. Yes, they probably want to make the playoffs, but still, the turnaround they've had is incredible, but good win for Cedar Rapids, Washington. What a good way to get your first win of the season.
Yeah. Honestly, turnovers just killed Cedar Rapids Jefferson. They got 2 interceptions. I mean, they outgained them. They outgained Cedar Rapids Washington. So just brutal. A brutal loss.
Just
3
one of
turnovers.
those. Yeah, just one of those that you could have won. Probably should have won, honestly. But they got a couple more chances, a couple more tests that they can maybe go out and prove if you take one of those. But, man, it's a brutal loss. The RPI, or at least the rankings, official rankings come out this week for the Iowa High School Athletic Association. It might be RPI, it might not. I'm not quite sure. I think it's RPI. But either way, I don't expect them to be very high at 4-1. So a tough loss. We'll see how they keep going back. Again, either way, amazing season so far. Happy for them. Wins are wins. Another team, Paul, that is undefeated and still rolling. Bettendorf handles Dubuque Hempstead 49-7. This is a good Hempstead team. Bettendorf, how are we feeling? How do you feel about Bettendorf?
Continues to be the same story, which is hard to tell.
Yeah.
You don't really know anything yet about them until they play a team that's really good. I mean, the PV wins still their standout win. They've got Kennedy this week, and then they've got Prairie and Iowa City High. Later, Davenport Central's also.
So we'll figure them out.
Yeah.
We'll know. But nonetheless, 5-0 is 5-0. So good for Bettendorf. Good win. A couple other notables. Valley gets win number 1 on the year against Ames, 52-13. Had a good rushing attack in that game. I just caught glimpses of it while I was doing my game. Good for Valley. Win's a win. They got a lot of work to do if they want to make the playoffs. But again, like we've talked about, their RPI should be decent. It's just their win now is against an Ames team that is not very good. So we'll see what happens. I think, what do you think, Paul? They making the playoffs?
I
think they come up just short.
I think they come up short. Yeah, their RPI opponent is going to be very high, but I mean, they got to beat Joaquin F. West, which I think is tough, and then they got to beat Ankeny, which is tough as well.
Yeah. Speaking of Northwest, again, just rolling back on that, I was looking at their schedule the rest of the way. They could win out. I mean, Northwest could win out easily and go 7-2, and I think that'd be a good Northwest team. I was just looking at their schedule the rest of the way. They got the like Ames, Ottumwa, like pretty, pretty simple. The rest of the way, it feels like.
Yeah, that'd be crazy if Waukee schools, both Waukee schools, 8-1 and 7-2.
You think they'd put them against each other in the bracket in the postseason? Yeah. No. I think they learned their lesson. Well, they didn't learn their lesson at state basketball because it's a completely different sport. But that was definitely one of those, like, dang it, man. Could have been a great state title game. But good for Valley to go in and upset.
Valley proved that it wasn't.
Yeah. That's exactly what happened. That was cool. Final game, quickly talking about Cedar Rapids Prairie gets back on track against Iowa City Liberty 38-30. What a weird time for Iowa City Liberty. Like one game away from the 4A Dome trip last year, and they move up to 5A, and now they're 1-4. Just a brutal schedule. I'll give them that. They've played a brutal schedule to start the season, but turnovers and their defense has given up, I think, 35 or more each week, if I'm not mistaken, something like that. So it's just been tough sledding for Iowa City Liberty.
Yeah, man. I mean, brutal. They got outgained pretty hardcore about not as bad as I thought. But, I mean, Prairie just perfectly balanced offense. 233 passing, 251 rushing. Average 8.4 yards a carry.
Nice. Good to see it. We're on to Class 4A, where ADM continues the train rolling forward. 42-0 over Boone. The Toreadors started 3-0. They've lost back-to-back games now to Gilbert and ADM. 3-0 start's still good, though. I think you can win a couple more, drag out a couple more. You might be on the cusp there of the top 16. Aiden Flora, you posted about him. 4 of 7, 94 yards, 3 touchdowns in the air, and then he ran for 146 yards and 2 touchdowns. Would this be one of the more incredible feats if Aiden Flora takes this team all the way? Say they go on and win the whole thing. Like, is that top 5 maybe greatest feats we've seen out of an athlete here in the state of Iowa?
It'd be really impressive. ADM's got a good team. It's not just
No, it's not. Their defense is still phenomenal.
Yeah, but I get what you're saying. it'd be remarkable. Like he carries that entire offense.
He was running miles. I'd love to see how much, if he had a tracker. We should put a tracker on Aiden Flora. How much does he run distance wise in a night?
Yeah.
I feel like it'd be well over a 5K. Unbelievable effort by Aiden Flora. ADM moves to 4-1 on the season. Lewis Central defeats Glenwood 49-21. Brady Hetzel 13 of 17, 234 yards in the air, 3 touchdowns. I'm a little worried about Glenwood, Paul. Their best win is Atlantic. I mean, just not
East probably.
Their defense. Just something's missing for Glenwood. And we were very high on them after that Atlantic game. And then it turns out Atlantic has just really not been what we've expected. But Lewis Central, 2 losses. I don't think it matters. This is a good team.
Yeah. Lewis Central, they're back to legit. I mean, we were pretty harsh on them to start. Just offensively, they were not clicking, but I think they're back now. I mean, brutal losses. They lost to Creston and Bondurant.
Yeah.
So, like,
and Bondurant team, I tell you what, they're good.
Yeah.
I don't think I have them on here, but defeated Newton. I don't even know the final score, but defeated Newton.
21.
Yeah, 42-21. That Bondurant team's good, man. The loss to North Polk stings, but that's a good team. I feel like the North Polk game is blinding a couple people. Like, okay, they lost, doesn't matter. No, they're still very good. I don't think we can look over Bondurant. Norwalk gets back on track, defeats Winterset 37-17. I thought this game would be a little bit closer. Winterset had rattled off 2 straight wins after a rocky start against a couple good teams. Aiden Harder, 18 of 27, 207 yards, 2 touchdowns, 14 rushes, and a touchdown. There were like a lot of interceptions this game. Alyssa Hartel with the Des Moines Register was covering this game, and I swear every time I checked Twitter, she was just tweeting, well, this guy got picked off, and this guy got picked off. I just feel like so many turnovers. How are we feeling about Norwalk?
I mean, we feel fine. They ran into a buzzsaw that was ADM.
I feel like they can be a Final 8 team.
Yeah,
they can make the Elite 8.
The Elite 8. I get from them. They've got some big games. They got Lewis Central coming up in about a couple of weeks, and then they got Glenwood too.
Yeah, so it's tough. They'll be setting themselves up. Other notables, we can't forget about the lone undefeated team. Gilbert moves to 5-0 on the year, 49-0 win over Des Moines Hoover. Will Hawthorne has a pretty good game. Quickly, when I looked at the stats, you and I talked about it, Paul. You get one chance, and it's Bondurant in 2 weeks, pretty much. So we'll see how Gilbert does. We'll really figure out what Gilbert is. That's the matchup. How well do you stack up against Bondurant? Statistically, Bondurant's better, but Gilbert, you never know. We've seen teams go like this and give teams better fights, but they're going 8-1. I mean, I just don't see them losing besides maybe Bondurant.
I see a chance that Carlisle could be
maybe.
But
it's close.
Gilbert, I mean, they don't have room for error at all.
But good for them, man. After last year, how about that turnaround? I mean, I'd be curious. What's the better turnaround, Gilbert or Cedar Rapids Jefferson? It's just been
Jefferson.
Because I mean, I don't know. We'll just have to see. Both schedules have not been kind, but you don't choose your schedule, so that's kind of how it goes. But
they won a game last year. Give it to those. Yeah, Jefferson. Yeah.
So Gilbert defeats Hoover 49-0. The Tigers are 5-0, the only undefeated team left in Class 4A. Last notable, Pella starting to get hot. They defeat Carlisle 38-14. Luke Hardman's got some boys over there for that Dutch team. Keep an eye on Pella. They get Xavier. I think they get Xavier. I'm not sure. Maybe their district changed again. But what's Pella's schedule the rest of the year, Paul?
Checking it right now. We've got Newton on the road, Des Moines Hoover, Bondurant, and Gilbert.
All right, so Bondurant. Okay.
Remember they beat Xavier.
Oh, yeah, I'm crazy.
1 o'clock.
Okay, so circle that. Gilbert, Pella will be a big one as well. Big. Pella was on the cusp of the RPI last year. If you remember, Pella almost made it at 3-6. Almost. In some cases, maybe should have made it a couple favors, it felt like. But almost made it at 3-6. Pella will, I think, should be safely in this year at about the 13, 12, 14 range. So keep an eye on those guys as we go throughout. That's Class 4A. We'll jump to Class 3A, where the boys get it done again. Creston defeats Harlan 25-22. Fireworks and all. Cale Turner, 12 of 24, 127 yards and a touchdown. He runs for 95 yards and a touchdown. I assume you saw the video. Cade had the video of this for IA Sports. Literally one of the coolest shots I think I've ever seen. Just so happened to catch the fireworks in the background as Turner hugged his head coach. I tell you what, man, it feels like they're the team of destiny. Like, you talk about good stories. This story, I know they weren't bad last year. They were pretty good last year. But everything's come together, and it's working, and they're beating good teams, and they're rolling. It just feels like they are a team that can really do it.
Yeah, they're doing it, man. They got outgained, it looks like. They got outgained this game, but they held on strong. This team, obviously, you said it, they're legit dome contender. Obviously.
How do we feel about Harlan? 2 losses by a total of 4 points.
Nothing against them. They're going to really be scary for a team to play in the playoffs. Like, I think a team in 3A that, like, they're going to play a team that's also pretty good, and it's going to be like a war. It's probably going to be a sub-state final game.
I think they get one more test. Nevada is their last big test, and then that's it. So
Atlantic, Knoxville, and Perry are there.
Yeah, they'll cruise past those. So I don't know. As much as I've been high on Nevada, as of this moment, I feel like I'd take Harlan in that game just because Harlan's losses are much closer. We'll talk about Nevada's loss in the very next game that they lost to. But yeah, I think Harlan's fine. I didn't have him in my top 4, but I think they're going to be right there. They will get to the Elite 8, no problem. Harlan is there, so they're getting close. Next game, another unbeaten goes down. Humboldt defeats Hampton-Dumont Cal 14-7. I wasn't high on Hampton-Dumont Cal, going in, and then they beat Nevada, and I said, okay, I'll respect them a little bit more. And then they come out and do this against Humboldt. Not that this is a bad loss. Humboldt's a very good team. I think there was a controversial fumble. I saw a picture on Hampton-Dumont Cal's Instagram saying the guy's knee was down, blah, blah, blah. Good win for Humboldt, though. No stats from this game that were in the last time I checked. But
can't believe Hampton on defense totaled 14 TFLs with 6 sacks.
And they still lost.
Yeah.
Wow. So the offense just was not rolling.
The offense was not rolling. Not even an interception thing. I think they had 1 pick.
Do they throw the ball a lot?
Who? Hampton?
Hampton.
No.
Yeah. So that's clearly Humboldt must have seen something on tape because Hampton ran all over Nevada. And that was the big difference maker in that one. Plus controlled time of possessions. Nevada barely had the ball in that game. But Humboldt, this is the type of Humboldt that you just see. Like, tough, hard-nosed defense, gritty games. They'll get the job done when it matters. Good for Humboldt. I think they're 3-2 on the season, 4-1, something like that. So good enough for Humboldt. Tough loss for Hampton-Dumont Cal. They'll try to regroup here in the next couple weeks. They'll be a dangerous team in the playoffs. 3A, we talk about 4A, but 3A is stacked. Sioux Center does it again, takes down another undefeated team. They defeat Bishop Heelan 21-0. Heelan's schedule was not great, so I feel like maybe a lot of people maybe saw this coming. Solomon T, 6 carries, 91 yards, and a touchdown. Anything stand out for this game, Paul?
Not too much. Kind of a basic box score. They scored 15 in the 4th. That's probably my biggest thing.
That's the big one. Again, hate to beat a dead horse. There are way too many dangerous teams in this class. You could pick maybe 10 teams. That's why 3A was so tough. I don't know about you, but when I picked my 3A teams last week for midseason dome prediction, that was the toughest one. 4A was tough, but 3A just so loaded. Clear Lake is still undefeated. They defeat Webster City 10-2. 10-2. What a final score. They give up just 178 yards, and they keep Jackson Cherry under 100 yards rushing. That Clear Lake defense, legit. I talked about it a couple weeks ago when I gave them my Team of the Week award. And in 3 games, they'd only given up 6 yards. They scared me a little bit against Waverly Shell Rock, giving up a couple more yards. Yeah, 25. But this Clear Lake team is very good. Offensively, maybe a little bit more to be desired, but I keep an eye on this team.
Yep, I'm with you. I mean, these teams just lit it up on the air. You want to hear their passing totals?
Oh, gosh.
26 total passing yards between the two of them.
Wow.
It's a whole
I wonder
two.
if it rained. It had to have rained. There's no way it wasn't raining during this game.
Yeah, it definitely was. Started off with the 52 electric.
Jeez. Crazy. Webster City, 3-2. How we feeling about Webster City?
Playoff team, but
yeah. I've said it so many times. If Jackson's off, they're not there. If Jackson's on, they're there. We saw that against North Polk. That's a good win that they will have on their resume going forward, but tough loss.
They're kind of tough end of the year.
What do they got?
Hampton, do my call this week. Algona, week 8, and then Humboldt.
Hey, Algona, Clear Lake, 3A game of the week.
Yeah. Big.
That's cinema. Watch out. It's going to be cinema. I need to check with Jack. Make sure you got that graphic made. West Delaware defeats Makokata 28-0. Brett Yankovic, 9 of 11, 151 yards and a touchdown, 72 yards and 2 touchdowns. West Delaware has come alive, baby. Defeat Webster City last week. Take down Makokata this week. 2 very good offenses that pretty much got shut down. Again, good wrestler school that has been good at football the last couple times. Another dangerous team. I hate to say it.
Yeah, they are another. You're right. Just going through these scores, you just see like multiple teams that you're a little nervous for in the playoffs for like the big dogs.
There's no slouches. Like there's just no like, okay, they're not that great. Like I'm not kidding. Top 12 teams literally are right there. Like maybe a couple separate each other, but just phenomenal all across the board. And West Delaware looking good, starting to put things together. A couple other notable scores. Assumption defeats Fort Madison 38-7. Fort Madison started 3-0, has now hit 2 very tough teams in Williamsburg and Assumption. Their schedule the rest of the way looks like it cools off a little bit, so could go 7-2. They'll be near the back of the RPI because their 2 losses are to very good teams, but their wins aren't great. But nonetheless, Bloodhounds stopped short. And then my Grinnell Tigers could not get the offense going. 47, Solon defeats Grinnell. Solon, the Spartans, could be the challenge that Williamsburg gets in their district. I'm not saying it's going to be a win, but Solon, if they put things together, could be a really tough test. And don't forget about Benton as well. Benton's a very good test on the ground. So the word of the day, dangerous. Very dangerous, Class 3A.
Love it.
Love it. We'll jump down to 2A. A couple good games in this one. West Lyon defeats Western Christian. One of the only like undefeated versus undefeated games last week, it felt like. 20-3. That West Lyon defense, Paul, those boys are pretty good. Jackson Hoyser, or I can't say it. Jackson, I'll just go Huser. There you go. 11.5 tackles, 4 of them for loss, and the dude sacked the quarterback 3 times. Do we need to be talking about this West Lyon team? Offensively, they don't seem like lights out, but defensively look like one of the best teams in Class 2A.
Yeah, they lit it up in the tackle for loss department. 12 total with 4 sacks. And they held Western Christian through 0.9 yards per carry. So, that's Western Christian's thing is rush yards per carry, and they got held. So, yeah, West Lyon defense looking legit. They got a couple shutouts on the resume, too. Shutout OABCIG, shutout Union Christian. Sioux Center only put up 2 on them. They technically shut out them.
Confirm to me, don't they play Central Lyon in like 2 weeks?
Pretty sure. I'll confirm it right now.
I would be stunned if they don't, because the Beef Bowl happens like every year.
No, they definitely play. Yeah, they play week 9.
Dang. Really?
Yep.
That stinks.
I
wish it was earlier. How about that? Good for week 9. And they could both be undefeated because we're going on to Central Lyon. They defeat Cherokee Washington 52-7. This offense isn't fair, Paul. Van Meter's good, and I'm not doubting that. I'm still putting Central Lyon at number 1 because they are so good. Just based off what they lost last year, it just doesn't seem possible.
Yeah. No, their offense, not a single game below 40, I think.
Unreal.
Which is unreal.
Tough loss for Cherokee Washington. That's 2 straight losses after starting 3-0. Their ground attack is still very good. Could be a team that sneaks into the playoffs in Class 2A. So keep an eye out for those guys. Tough loss. We'll jump down to Comanche defeating Tipton 35-7. This was this was a surprise. Looking at the rest of the schedule, I was like, Tipton should go 9-0 if they continue to play the way that they do. Tipton does not go 9-0. Comanche gets the best of the Tigers. Bryce Buckley. How about that name? 11 of 18, 160 yards, a touchdown, 34 rushing yards, and a touchdown. That's a good win. It's a tough loss for Tipton because they're not going to have a lot of chances to improve that RPI as the season goes on.
Yeah. Brutal game rushing the ball for them, 2.2 yards per carry. And turnover battle-wise, it went 2-2. So they split.
Yeah. It's a tough game. Tough game for Tipton. Good start to the season, though. I know they're still excited. Not going undefeated is tough, but still able to push through. I think that's good enough. And good for Comanche. I think it's Comanche. There's no way. It might be Comanche. But the chi on the end makes me think Comanche.
The chi really rattles me.
I could have swore like years ago I was calling it Comanche, and then I don't know. They changed their mascot a couple years ago from Indians to Storm, and then I just got all lost. So Kemper Catholic defeats Greene County 39-3. Greene County was 3-1 going into this one. Their only loss was to Carroll. I was high on Greene County coming into the season. I think I still am, but Kemper Catholic puts the right things together and goes out and defeats Greene County. They play Des Moines Christian this week, so should be a good game. I think it'll be 3-2 versus 3-2. It's our 2A game of the week because 2A is rough this week in terms of games. But I think it's a crucial game, so I wanted to put it as our game of the week. Also, you get two very talented quarterbacks. Any stats from this game, Paul?
Brock batting went off 240 yards, 2 touchdowns, and 1 rushing along with that, so 3 total. Other than that, not too much sticking out.
So you get Brock, is it batting? Is that how you say his name?
Batting.
So you get Brock batting versus Tate Platt next week. That'll be a fun quarterback battle. If you don't know who Tate Platt is from Des Moines Christian, sneakily has been one of the better quarterbacks under the radar the last couple of years. Last game, North Fayette Valley defeats Osage 20-8. This really hurt me because of Osage and how good they have looked and, their losses and their games. Caught me off guard. Aiden Turner, 19 rushes, 19 carries, 161 yards, 2 touchdowns. Good win for North Fayette Valley. Kind of a head scratcher for Osage, in my opinion.
Yeah, one-dimensional, too. It wasn't even like they literally didn't complete a pass. North Fayette Valley.
Yeah, just weird. I bet it rained. Honestly, I bet a lot of these, you feel like could be rain that caused it. So,
yeah.
Tough loss for Osage. They're 3-2. My dome prediction for them might need some work. We'll just have to see.
Potentially.
Class 1A. Trainer is still undefeated. They survive a scare. 26-25 win over AHSTW. Trainer blocked, I thought it was just 1 punt, but apparently they blocked 2 punts to end this game to try to survive and win it. So that's kind of what saved them at the end of the day. Trainer is 5-0, but just a weird 5-0. Their best wins over Clarinda, I think. And then I think, what's their schedule the rest of the way? I'd be curious. I feel like they might have 1 or 2 more. Trainer.
Yeah, I'll check. We got Underwood. That's a big game.
Oh,
Shenandoah, and then Missouri Valley.
Interesting. I think Trainer Underwood is our game of the week. I can't remember what I sent Jack, but anything stand off the page for that Trainer game?
Doesn't look like it unless they had 3 interceptions. Trainer.
Ooh.
Ball hawk.
Yes, Trainer Underwood is our Class 1A game of the week.
2 punt returns for a TD.
Dang, how about that? I'll read our games of the week at the end, but Trainer is undefeated. They get their true test next week against Underwood. This was a shocker to me. Yeah. Sumner Fredericksburg defeats MFL Marmac 13-9. Davis Van Sickle, 13 of 19, 163 yards and 2 touchdowns. Paul, MFL Marmac looked untouchable through the first couple weeks, and I know their strength of schedule wasn't great, but boy, what a win for the Cougs. I mean, seriously.
They won rushing for minus 43 yards and negative 1.6 yards per carry.
Does that even make sense?
No.
Oh, my gosh. That's a stat that I will not go back and look. But if someone listening to this podcast wants to go back and look, when's the last time a team won with negative rushing yards?
I mean, that's crazy. There's another thing I was going to. MFL had 12 tackles for loss and 6 sacks.
Jeez. And Sumner's only loss is Dyke New Hartford, is it not?
I believe so, yeah.
Man.
Yep.
I'm telling you, dude.
For MFL, by the way.
I'm telling you, I think I made a mistake not putting Dyke New Hartford in the 1A or in the whatever class they're in. I can't remember. It might be 1A. It might be. I'd made a mistake not putting these guys at the dome because
they're in 1A, I believe.
1A. Dyke New Hartford, man. Their offense is cooking now. They scored 55 points on Friday night. That team is good, and we're not talking about them enough. But Sumner Fredericksburg says, don't forget about us. That's a big win over MFL Marmac. Tough loss for the Bulldogs. Yeah. Had to have that one. You felt like first big test of the year just kind of slipped up. So, I don't know. My other pick, one of my dome picks that I feel like I was getting some heat for, Denver defeats Applington Parkersburg 48-0. And Micah Greer goes off. 19 carries, 319 yards, 5 touchdowns. Denver still not an amazing schedule by any means, but they're putting things together, and they're a tough physical team. I'm not going to talk more about this game because Paul's going to talk about it more just a little bit later, but nonetheless, big win for the Cyclones. A couple of the notables, I already said it. Dyke New Hartford defeats Central Springs 55-0. Hudson goes to 4-1 on the season. They defeat Albernet 28-19. And Sigourney Keota is 4-1. Despite the loss to Pella Christian, they're starting to get things back rolling. They defeat Pleasantville 31-24. So fun games in Class 1A. Other notable, I guess. I put other notable, I guess. Regina, Paul, is undefeated, 49-14, a win over Cascade. You and I both talked about it. Their schedule's not great, but I fully believe in this Regina team.
Yeah. They're dynasties, man. Those teams just
you can't – hard to bet against a dynasty, I guess.
Yep.
We'll go to Class A. ACGC defeats Riverside 27-15. I'm not going to lie, Paul. It scares me a little bit because Riverside, I think, only has one win this year.
Yep.
Wishing it was a little bit more for a team that I put in my dome predictions. Anthony Solorzano, 1 reception, 24 yards, ran for 144 yards and a touchdown. I mean, statistically, ACGC is right there at the top in terms of their schedule. Mm-hmm. I don't think they're at the top anymore because of the next team that we're going to talk about, but a little worrisome 15-point win, but a win's a win.
Yep. Win is a win.
We'll take it. Madrid defeats Earlham 13-6. Nash Ramirez, 15 carries, 89 yards, 1 touchdown. If you look at the box score of this game, Paul, you're going to see a lot of ugly things. This game did not look fun. I feel bad for anyone that had to watch this game. But still, almost every single one of Madrid's wins are very good wins. That Earlham team was very good. 3-1, that's a good 3-1. Tell us about that box score.
Disgusting. Not really a lot of things you can say about it. I mean, it just doesn't make sense.
Preston Wicker was shut down completely.
Yeah, they still put up 264 on the ground, but
ugly.
I'm
all in on Madrid. I am all in. I think they are set. Very good team, beating good teams.
Sometimes you got to win a sloppy one.
Yeah, sometimes you got to take
Iowa does it all the time.
Yeah, it happens. Don't get me started. St. Ansgar defeats Nashua, Plainfield. I didn't get a score for this. I think it was 28-6, 28-3.
Yep. Got it, 28-6.
Christian Michaels, 12 carries, 140 yards, and a touchdown. St. Ansgar is going to the Dome. I'm not taking any other liberties. That's a good win over a Nashua team that I don't think had a loss coming in. So, looks like the ground attack is right there. Very, very good team.
406 rushing yards.
Woo.
Almost 10 a carry.
Wow. Good for them.
Domination.
We have not talked about these guys at all, but I had to throw it in because I feel like they're going to get mad if we don't. Lisbon is 5-0. They defeat Pekin 17-7. Lisbon is 5-0, and I think their opponent record might be the worst in the state. I can't confirm. I just know that it is a very, it's a 5-0. 5-0 is 5-0. I'm not going to put anything against them. They're probably going to get in the playoffs because of the 5 straight wins. but just a really rocky schedule to start. Dakota Clark, though, he's a baller. 9 of 14, 95 yards in the air, 66 rushing yards and a touchdown. Anything on Lisbon?
Like the box score or just in general?
I mean, who they beaten?
They have beaten Pekin,
Pekin. Yep.
Highland, Columbus, Louisa Muscatine, and Durant.
Ugh. Yeah. I'd be curious to know their opponent schedule or their opponent record. Not great.
Probably. There, I can find it right now.
All right. Either way, like I said, 5-0 is 5-0. Not going to put anything against them. I don't know what their schedule is the rest of the way. We'll figure out who they are.
They
Feel like
an opponent record of 13-27.
What's the rest of their schedule?
Wapello, Danville, and Van Buren County.
So they realistically should go undefeated the rest of the way.
Yeah.
Interesting. Well, good for Lisbon. Good to see it. Still undefeated. Last one I want to talk about, East Buchanan defeats Northland 41-14. How about domination by East Buchanan, who has struggled, it feels like, to start the season? This is a team that is very good. They've been to the Dome recently, and now starting to get back on track. This is a much-needed win. Tanner Thurn, 19 carries, 209 yards, 4 touchdowns. Paul will talk a little bit more about this game later. I will say I watched this game, and the sidelines are like those sidelines that kind of have like the median of an interstate, so they kind of like dip down a little bit, and then the track. There were literal rivers down the sideline for how much rain they got. I saw one poor kid get tackled, and he just splashed down and was like almost fully in water. I felt so bad for him. But East Buchanan, good win. That's a tough district. Starmont's in that district. Northland's in that district. Very, very good opponents. Keep an eye on East Buchanan going the rest of the way. Let's jump down to our favorite class. It's 8-player, baby. 8-player Woodbine defeats Arweva 56-26. I feel so bad because when I come back on Friday nights, I try my best to get all really important games. And then a couple games that are like, hey, final score, get them in. I just didn't know this game happened. I would have posted about it, but it didn't get out there. And unfortunately, that happens with 8-player games. Arweva was undefeated and just got manhandled. Broden Pryor, 20 of 35, 384 yards, and 7 touchdowns. He scored every single point for Woodbine. Arweva was undefeated. They get Remsen this week, so wake up. Don't let this loss get to you. You got to get back on it. But good win for Woodbine, who's not a bad team, I don't think.
They got, I think it's Elaine Pryor's younger brother, Broden Pryor.
Yep.
7 touchdowns. That's crazy.
Wild. You want to know another wild game? It's these two teams from Powersheet County. BGM defeats Montezuma 55-50 because why not? Bo Burns continues just his unbelievable season. 32 of 48, 355 yards passing and 4 touchdowns. He runs for 126 yards and 3 touchdowns, so he had 7 total touchdowns. I don't know, man. I think BGM's 4-2 now. Montezuma's 3-3 or something like that. But Bo Burns seems like quality entertainment.
Yeah, no, he's a dog. His counting stats are ridiculous. He's over 2K yards.
Wow.
Crazy.
Unbelievable. Give it to him. How about that?
Sorry.
Our 8-player game of the week, Clarksville defeats Turkey Valley 62-22. Owen Backer, 8 carries, 210 yards, 3 touchdowns. So here's your story time of the day. I sent Tyler to go take photos of this game. Tyler lives in Cedar Falls because he goes to UNI, same as Paul. Tyler drives an hour north in the rain, gets to Turkey Valley, has to pay for parking, by the way, at an 8-player school. I don't even have to pay for parking at 5A schools. So he was kind of caught off guard by that. He parks his car, and it just downpours. Still just downpouring. He looks at his camera equipment and thinks, I can have better judgment. So he doesn't even take photos. He turns around and goes home because he didn't even want to get his camera equipment wet. So very unfortunate night if you're Tyler. But we appreciate him making the drive. I just wish he could have gotten photos. Clarksville dominated on the ground. You got stats for that, Paul?
Yeah, an insane game on the ground. 14.1 yards per carry and almost 500 total rushing yards.
Yeah. They They're crazy, and they're still undefeated. I keep an eye on Clarksville. They are a tough team that can really move the ball. I'm sure it rains still the entire game, but good for the Indians and a good win over a pretty good Turkey Valley team. A couple other notables, Remsen St. Mary's just keeps the train rolling, has still one of the longest winning streaks in the state. I want to make a post this week, by the way. I'll put this in the group chat, but I think we should make a post. What are the current active longest winning streaks in the state?
Yeah.
Obviously, it'll be easy to find. You just look at who's undefeated now and then look back into last season, just go as far as you can. But Remsen's up there. Like, not kidding. It should be 15, 16 plus games as of right now, you think? So it's up there. Yeah, it's up there. But they defeat New Alfonda 51-18. Riceville defeats Key 32-30. We were pretty high on Key and Mutterman and company, but Riceville gets the best of the Key Hawks. Good win for them. And then West Bend Mallard defeats Harris Lake Park 42-18. Harris Lake Park defeated New Alfonda a week ago, a week or 2 weeks ago, whatever. That was our game of the week. So West Bend Mallard, pretty fun team to keep an eye on. So 8-player was fun. Gladbrook, Rhinebeck, Winfield Mountain Union, your top two teams, cruise to victories easily. They're fun games to watch.
Yeah.
It's time to move on to our Friday night standout. A couple more segments here, and then we will wrap things up and give you your games of the week as well. My Friday night standout goes to a man who did the impossible. What we thought was impossible, I have never seen before. I think, is it Race Heitman or Heitman?
I'm going to go Heitman, but I'm not 100% sure.
We'll just go temporarily Race Heitman. Race Heitman for Williamsburg, maybe he gets drowned out because of the other big names at Williamsburg, but the man went off. They were playing South Tama. I get it. Say what you want about South Tama. I could have a whole nother rant for that, and I might rant about it here in a second. But anyway, started the game off. South Tama started with the ball first, and they go 3 and out. They punt it downfield, and Race takes the punt and runs it all the way back for a touchdown. Williamsburg takes the lead. South Tama comes back out. Second drive. Quarterback steps back to throw, fires over the middle. It's picked off by Race Heitman. Race Heitman takes it the whole way. He scores, pick 6. That's 2 touchdowns in the first quarter. South Tama goes back out on offense. A couple more plays. South Tama quarterback throws over the middle. It's picked off. Guess who? Race Heitman. And guess what? He takes it back for 6. 21 points, or 20. We don't know when Williamsburg missed the field goal, but 21 points in the first quarter. And then they weren't done. South Tama goes back out on offense, goes 3 and out, punts it deep. Race Heitman does it again. Takes it to the house and scores 27-0. And he scored all the points in less than 8 minutes. I think it was 7 minutes total of game time. Williamsburg's offense never took the field until it was 27-0. Race Heitman did one of the craziest things I've just ever seen. Like, honestly, one of the most insane stat lines I have ever seen for a football game ever. I know it's against South Tama, and South Tama's team has not been good. They're only fielding like 18 to 19 guys. It's rumored they might forfeit the rest of their season after this week just because of injuries and whatnot. I get it. The opponent's not great, but still, unbelievable stat line. Happy for Williamsburg, happy for Race. That's something you'll never forget for the rest of your life. Very cool. Wild. He is my Friday night standout.
Yeah. And I'm going to Denver, Micah Greer. 319 yards total on the ground, 5 touchdowns. Also throws in 7.5 tackles. Does it all for them in that 48-0 win against Appleton Parkersburg. Phenomenal performance. Hey, Denver's here. You like Denver, and
I love Denver.
Putting the team.
I love Denver. They're better than my Denver Broncos, who got beat by 50 today. So that's
wild.
I'll take the Denver Cyclones over the Denver Broncos. That's how that goes. Mm-hmm. It's time for Bound to Overreact. I got a positive overreaction this week. I think Creston is very good. I think they are phenomenal. I think I'm going to overreact and say Creston is better than Williamsburg. I said it. There's my overreaction. I think Creston has 2 very good wins over 2 of the top teams in the state, in Lewis Central and Harlan. Their passing attack is phenomenal. Their running attack is also just phenomenal. Their defense is there. Everything has come together, and it's all working in Creston's direction. I think Creston is the best team in Class 3A. And maybe it's an overreaction, maybe it's a fact, maybe it's just my opinion, but I'm going to overreact and go against the public opinion and say that Creston is the best team in Class 3A above Williamsburg. Go Panthers. Heck of a win. Finish out the season strong.
Yeah. Good one. I'm going bound to react. We're going Ankeny. I mean, It's not really like it's just Ankeny's winning out.
Yeah.
I don't even think this is a take. I think it's pretty doable. And by pretty doable, I mean there's like a 90% chance they win out, which is wild. I mean, this is a team that's gonna finish what? I think it's 7-2, 2 losses to,
which feels impossible after what we've seen the first couple weeks.
Well, it was like bad. I mean, to be fair, they ran into buzzsaws down like set, but
which are good losses.
Yeah, I would not have put them in a 7-2 category, but they're there.
How about Coach Bauer? That's a heck of a first year. Good for him. That's a team full of heart. You can just tell. Yep. That's our overreactions. That's our overreactions for our week 5, I should say. Mm-hmm. Let's jump to Bound to Talk Awards, where Paul and I give out awards. Yay, very exciting. Yeah. I'm going to go with the Storm Warning Award, and it goes out to everyone on Friday night that had to sit through weather delays. Paul's award is ironically about weather, but I just felt terrible seeing on Twitter and Facebook all the delays. Center Point Urbana and like that area literally had tornado warnings at around 6:30 or whatever, like had to wait out. Iowa Chill posted a video of tornado sirens literally going off while the game was going on. I'm not really sure how that happened, but just a weird night. I don't know how many lightning delays I saw just all across the board. You know, you can say what you want about the 30-minute lightning clock. It's just kind of weird, but it's for people's safety. But man, everybody braved the storms on Friday night, and everybody made it through. I will say I did see one game has been postponed, and I think it's just one, but I know PCM plays tonight, like Monday, which is weird. But one game that I've seen didn't make it on Friday night and had to be moved. But then we had almost every game made it through except the Marshalltown game, and then obviously the PCM game. Marshalltown game, really odd situation, had to call the game because of gunshots in the area. So kind of a weird scenario there. Glad everyone, at least that we know of, is okay. Paul, what's your award?
Going the Batman Award. Because East Buchanan just won a high school football game at 1:00 in the morning.
Now explain to people that don't understand why you named it the Batman Award.
Batman's up at the night, keeping the town safe. Simply put, right there. He's in the shadow.
Because Batman doesn't sleep.
He doesn't.
Batman doesn't fight in the day. What are we talking about?
Yeah, exactly. So that's why it is the Batman Award, East Buchanan.
From my understanding, this game was at halftime at 9:30, maybe 10:30, something like that. And then I think they hit another weather delay, and it was just a long night. 12:55 is when this thing ended. I posted it right when they finished because I was staying up watching it. It was like Pac-12 after dark, except it's just East Buchanan after dark. But what a wild game. A lot of rain. Broadcasters were great. That play-by-play guy, really good. I don't know who his name is, but he sounded really good. Tanner Thurn broke the school record in terms of career rushing yards. Good for him. Good win for East Buchanan. Paul gives out his Batman Award for the games. I want to quickly give you guys our games of the week. The games of the week post, if Jack is doing his job and he doesn't get demoted to Pinterest, will be up on Monday. That's a running joke.
And our undefeated post tomorrow.
Undefeated post tomorrow as well. Tyler's working on a post that sparked conversation today. We'll put that out. A lot more coming out. We'll be back on Wednesday for our podcast to go over the rankings, because we got rankings coming out this week. It's very exciting. So it'll give us something to talk about. Here's our games of the week, our Class 5A game of the week. How about this? I'll give you one sentence. Give me one sentence to describe the games of the week as I read them off. Class 5A, Ankeny Centennial versus Dowling Catholic. Go.
Oh, God. Rushing attack. That's my word. Both teams run the ball.
I'm going to go against you. Most passing yards wins.
Oh, okay.
Class 4A, Xavier and North Scott. That's a good game.
I don't know. Dome rematch from last year's semifinal.
Yeah. tradition. Best tradition wins, something like that.
Yeah.
Class 3A. Oh, you're going to love this one. Clear Lake and Algona. Are your boys coming in clutch?
I'm going to go
Well, you can't. I was going to say, I thought you were about to make your pick. No.
Battle of the Prospects.
Keep an eye. Fun game. 2A, Kemper Catholic, Des Moines Christian. Not your standard top-of-the-line game, but...
Don't got a word for that. Sorry.
I say crucial. Like important. Must-win game.
Good word. Good word.
1A, Trainer versus Underwood. Get off the track.
Undefeated in 1As, right? Both are undefeated in 1A.
Well, yeah, in 1A, technically, yeah. Because Underwood lost to Van Meter.
Battle of the 1A undefeateds.
There you go. A, Central Decatur versus Madrid. Central Decatur is 4-1. Another test.
The Preston Wicker. See what you can do.
Dude, I'm telling you, like every game for Madrid has been like good teams. It's unbelievable what they faced. 8-player, Arweva versus Remsen St. Mary's. Or excuse me, not that one. I switched it. Audubon versus Glidden Ralston. 2 4-1 teams. You don't know anything.
I got a word. You got a word?
Run the ball.
There you go, Blake. Run the ball.
And finally, our fan favorite. We don't pick this game, but Jack throws in a fan favorite. Sumner Fredericksburg versus Denver.
Okay.
Yeah, that's a good game. Why did I not pick that one? For what class is that? 1A? Must be 1A. Yeah, 1A.
Run the ball.
Trainer Underwood. I don't know. It's up in the air, but it's a fan favorite game. So Sumner Fredericksburg Trainer. There you go.
Yep.
Take it. Take it or leave it. All right. That's it. That's our 7 games of the week. We're excited to get those out. We'll have the post out soon. Jack will not post a Dubuque college player or a Davenport college player, and we'll be right on our way. So we'll get things rolling here. Fingers crossed with Jack's posting abilities. All right. He's Paul Arridge. I'm Blake Walker. Thanks, everyone, for listening to Bound to Talk Football. We'll be back on. We're going to try Wednesday this week. Surprise. We're going to try Wednesday this week. We'll try to be back on Wednesday for your midweek stuff and rankings. Thank you for listening to Bound to Talk Football. We'll see you in a couple days.
Have a week.